Call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. I'd like to welcome Greg Miller. Greg is the station chief for Chambers Hill, so he'll be on the board now according to the ordinance. At this time, we'll do roll call. Mr. Harlacher, if you will do roll call.
Yes, Mr. Tom Conley.
Here.
Chief Dan Gorentz.
Here.
Okay, close enough, right?
No, that's right.
Chief Mark Bradnick.
Here.
President Andy Moyer.
Here.
I'm here. Jack Harlacher. Greg Miller.
Here.
Chief Riverson.
Here.
They're all attending.
Thank you. There were no executive sessions prior to this meeting. Motion to approve the agenda. Motion. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Do we have any new items? Did you have a new item you wanted to put on it?
It's on.
Oh, it's on?
Yep.
Okay. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Election of officers. We are in need of a secretary. Do we have anybody that will volunteer to fill the secretary role until December? Chief. I need a secretary.
I'll do it.
All right. Chief? All right. We'll just appoint you secretary.
How many meetings are there between now
One
and...
more.
Okay.
One more. All right. At this time, visitors' requests and comments. You can just say your name. That's for township meetings.
Say one here, just start your name.
Just say your name and your address.
Mary Klaus. As you know, I'm from Chambers Hill Fire Company, where I'm the president and a firefighter and an emergency medical technician. Since the June meeting, something's been troubling me, and I thought about talking about it to the board, and I think the board needs to hear this. So after the last Swatara Fire Rescue Board meeting ended in June, I had a discussion with the board chairman, Andy Moyer. And at that time, Andy Moyer said to me that he thought it was not a good move for Chambers Hill Fire Company to say and to vote no to the township's offer to lease the upstairs of the Chambers Hill Fire Company building in return for paying 40% of our bills. And at that time, he also told me that for us to do that was like Chambers Hill Fire Company and me saying F you to the township. And I take great offense at that. I am a good, holy Christian woman. I've never used that word in my life, and I never would. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't swear, I go to church all the time. I do medical missions all around the world. 2 weeks ago, I was working with indigenous people in the jungles of Guyana, my 65th mission. Nobody ever should talk to me that way, and I hope no one ever does again, because that was not good. And he also told me that I was off the board because I wasn't a chief, and I'm not. And according to the ordinance, I should be a chief, or the chief should be sitting in a seat. And I'm very happy and proud to have Greg Miller as our chief in station and to represent us. But I was legitimately appointed as a designee of the former chief of Chambers Hill Fire Company, Mike K-Works. I was not inappropriately on it because the ordinance says that anybody that is appointed as a designee of the chief was appropriately to be a chief. Greg Miller's been our chief since January, and maybe you should have done this back in January, but I'm very happy to have him represent us. I guess since we're following the ordinance so very carefully, I'm not the only one you're probably going to put off your board, because our member up there, I was told that we have to have 2 citizens, and I read the ordinance signed by then Commissioner President Connolly back in 2019 that said you had to have 2 citizens at large. And I guess Jack Harlicker, maybe since he now is not quite a citizen at large, but an involved member of Swatara Fire Rescue and in charge of the drone and getting a stipend and getting a vehicle, I guess you're going to do the same thing to him too. But I just think you should look at the whole picture and treat everybody the same. But I would especially ask to have respect and never be talked to that way again, because I don't deserve it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Consideration of meeting minutes. They were mailed out. Motion to accept the minutes. I have a motion to accept from Mr. Conley. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Miller. Any comments? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Communication announcements. I am not aware of any communications. Chief Iverson, you received anything? Thank you. Reports, operations. Chief Iverson.
Thank you, Chairman Moyer. I'll read the August report, and then I have a few other things to go over briefly for the evening. In August, we ran 126 calls for service, 1 call in Paxton Borough, 8 fires, 33 medical calls, 10 hazardous conditions, 10 service calls, 27 good intent calls, and 28 false alarms. We had 66 active responders, 4,962 staffing hours, and 172 hours of training. We averaged a 4-minute and 55-second response time from dispatch to arrival. We had great mutual aid partnerships again for the month. We provided mutual aid 22 times and received mutual aid 28 times. Beyond the emergency calls, I'm not going to go into this. I can do every meeting. It's going to be Dan's report for fire prevention, so I will not read that portion of it. And I apologize. I'm not used to being able to have this stuff up on the screen. Also, the County 911 Center has started to email out monthly stats, which is really interesting. So countywide, we are the 3rd busiest municipality, and that is first due calls only. So Lower Paxton is ahead of us along with Harrisburg City. We responded to 107 calls in Swatara Township in the month of August. Lower Paxton is at 123 and Harrisburg City is at 315. We are the 3rd busiest county engine for the month of August. Engine 30 Progress and an engine out of Lower Paxton were busier than us by a few calls. And Rescue 915 was the busiest rescue in the county with 51 calls. And it also breaks down the chief officer responses too. And we are on that list as well with 2 alert chiefs. County SOG committee has really been working very hard. The latest is we have adopted as the county fire chiefs the non-hydrant SOG, which we do not have very much area within Swatara Township. We have a very small section that we would require tankers, so this defines how we operate on those incidents. They're also looking at forming different task force, one being the tanker task force. So if we have an incident where fire hydrants are out or some circumstance where we can't access the hydrants, we can simply ask for a tanker task force and the county will give us predefined resources. I believe it's 4 tankers and an engine. I have to look. And they're going to do the same thing with rapid intervention teams. because when we get into commercial buildings, one RIT team is not sufficient. And what's happening right now is our RIT teams are often going to work on fires and not providing RITs, or trying to find a replacement RIT team can be challenging at times. So we are going to create a RIT task force. So if the incident commander sees that's happening, they can say dispatch RIT task force, and they'll get a predetermined amount of units that the county will automatically know to send. So there's a lot of things going on. There's another working group that is working on, I'm not going to say active shooter because that's not what it's called anymore. It's active threat. Yes, active threat is the term. So we're working with Dauphin County 911 on what fire and EMS units will get dispatched when we have that happen. And then coinciding with that, policy is being drafted for police, fire, EMS to work as a unified command system on those types of incidents. So there's lots of going on at the county level, which is great. We continue to standardize things across the board. It makes us operate in a safer manner when everybody is on the same page on these incidents. We've also, the fire officers have started a meeting to update our box cards. I know that's been a topic for a while. It is a very daunting task to work on that. Some of the things that we are looking at changing, right now we call for only one piece of fire apparatus from every per fire station. The reason for that is everybody knows the staffing issues that everybody has. So typically, one piece is getting out per station. So the county is actually working on making it that we can put our fire apparatus in different statuses. So in layman's terms, we say independent and dependent. So independent status means that whatever crew is on that apparatus is independent on that crew. So dependent, so if it gets dispatched, it does not put the rest of the station out of service. Dependent crews would put, if one unit goes responding from a fire station, it will automatically take the rest of the station out of service. So that helps us guarantee a response and not, so it does two things. It helps us continue to call the closest due instead of bouncing out to keep getting more apparatus if there is a second crew in a particular station. So that is, again, a task that we're working with the county on. They're in the testing phase of that right now. So once that's available, we will take that into account when we are updating our box cards, including, there's municipalities around us that are starting to add full-time staffing. So we're taking our time to make sure we are calling the right resources and getting them as quickly as we possibly can. So that is basically all I have for the operations report. Any questions for me?
I see no questions. Administration, Chief Iverson?
Yeah, I'm going to turn this over to Captain Brubacher, and he's going to, you should have, everybody at your desk, you should have a governance system revision brief. And I'm going to let the captain take over and take the lead on this one, and then we can discuss it afterwards.
This is foreign to me. Good evening, everyone. Captain Stephen Brubacher with SDFR. I appreciate the opportunity, Chief, to be able to present this to the board, officers, and community, and I want to show my appreciation for the ongoing support. Tonight's presentation, although detailed, is a brief, and I'll attempt just to keep it brief. So through the system in your packets, table of contents, background, purpose, overview, identified areas of expansion and improvement, as well as our implementation plan, benefits to the department and the community, as well as some risks and proposed mitigation to those. So a lot of this stemmed from an officers meeting that we had August 26th of 2025. And I believe after compiling some data, it revealed some systemic issues in accountability and how the system is laid out currently. Challenges aren't necessarily leadership failures, but they stem from gaps in the current governing system. I do want to elaborate on volunteers remain the backbone of our system. They provide an invaluable and indispensable exceptional service to our community, and they're the reason why we can deliver what we can deliver. Without their dedication, the system simply would not be functionable. At the same time, we also have to realize as volunteers that not everyone has been exposed to the same level of executive administration level documentation. This revised system provides structure, shared responsibility, consistency in how we operate on a daily basis. We're not necessarily creating a lot of new. We're just going to put what we have and how we operate now in writing, just to further the consistency. I know at work, some days I don't know what officer I'm going to get. Having it in black and white on writing and documentation, here's the rule, here's how we're going to operate. So just moving towards the background and current state of how we've been operating right now. STFR's original system was pioneering, probably one of the first in the area, and we've actually seen some other departments duplicate and move forward. We're looking to develop a fully comprehensive structure on the front end. Currently, we have 23 administrative and 21 to 22 operational governing documents. These are also stored within Power DMS currently. Current gaps show discipline, delegated authority, integration of part-time staff, and our outdated code of conduct. The result of this is accountability gaps, inefficiencies in discipline and compliance, as well as risk of morale and other interdepartmental issues. At a brief, so the purpose and objective of this is to, again, create a clear and consistent enforceable structure across the entire department. Not what's good for one station isn't good for the next, it's good for the whole. Standardization, empowerment to officers and the personnel within the department. Also to align with OSHA, NFPA, ISO, and accreditation standards. And I really want to touch base on the accreditation standards. It's for a stronger community trust, recruitment, retention. Within the document itself, I highlighted a lot of, the benefits of what a system like this, a comprehensive system like this, could bring to the department. So an overview of the revised governing system and the documentation therein is policies, general orders, directives, procedures, and guidelines. They all have a separate meaning within the system itself. And in how we lay it out, it's going to be easily identifiable through Power DMS and through hard copies that shall be kept at all the stations, as well as here in the Office of the Fire Chief. It's a two-layer system. One, the back end, which is the comprehensive part. So this policy here in itself, it shows the depth of what's needed. I've included it in your packet. And this is just the overview of the entire system and how it should be laid out, the logic, the framework. Could get lengthy, to be quite frank. Very lengthy. But that's going to be the back end. That's going to be the liability saver in the long run. The front end, the personnel facing, is going to be simplified handbooks and manuals, practical and plain language for daily use, day-to-day operations. All of this is going to be maintained in Power DMS, which will be the official record. Binders that are kept are going to be for reference only in particular circumstances, or if the technology just isn't available at the time. Chief pulled up our Power DMS application, and right now how we're operating is, the fire department, and we have 2 subcategories, which is documents and then policies, procedures, and guidelines, and then everything's kind of kept there. We're working on building out a more detailed and comprehensive plan, as I've mentioned. And here's 4 of the main categories: the Office of the Fire Chief, governing documents, departmental information bulletins, and divisions of STFR. Let's go down a little bit, Chief. So divisions, these are a lot of what our chiefs handle on the day-to-day. This is just giving them the backbone, again, for consistency. So operations, administration, logistics, division, community risk reduction, health and safety division. For the employee-facing part of this, policies, procedures, and guideline index, general orders and directives. Policies, procedures, and guidelines will be maintained in a category 100 to, I believe it's 1,200 or 1,300, and they each have a underlying category underneath each one of those. So if you scroll down a little bit, Chief, so under 100 administration itself, we'll break it down further to policies, procedures, and guidelines. And then within those will be the individual documentation. If somebody wants to read, the boring 500, 600 pages of information, but it's all going to be maintained within handbooks and manuals. I think that was it then, Chief. So Chief Iverson, post the August 26th meeting, identified some of these issues and where we could improve. Consistency, accountability, enforcement, compliance, and culture. This system should be able to elaborate and at least get us stepping in the right direction moving forward. It's a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of work for the officers, for the fire chief, and for all personnel, just even if it's reading, understanding. So we have created an implementation plan between 3 phases. The first phase is to adopt the master index and framework policies and revise the code of conduct. Phase 2 will be to publish the professional standards manual and the rules and regulations manual, which will be the employee facing and personnel facing documentation. Phase 3 will be the orientation and onboarding handbooks, and that's new personnel and new employees coming into the organization. The reason that comes last is we want to make sure that we're taking care of those who are here now. So benefits to the department and the community: professionalism, credibility, accountability, efficiency, officers development, risk reduction, ISO, and accreditation. On the community side, we hope it instills public confidence, reduce liability, improve service, and community pride in the fire department. I just want to touch base on the accreditation for a little bit. So the Commission on Fire Accreditation International is the fire services equivalent of a gold standard in organizational excellence. This is measured across 244 to 250 performance indicators across 10 categories: governance, administration, risk, assessment, training, development, just to name a few. It's data-driven, community-focused, and continuously improving. It matters because it shows our township officials, auditors, and residents that we meet the national standard of excellence. It builds trust in signaling transparency, accountability, and strong stewardship of township resources. And it reduces risk and embeds NFPA, OSHA, and ISO requirements on daily operations. Across those 244 to 250 self-assessments, self-departmental assessments, a lot of them are based on our internal documentation and how we operate on a day-to-day as a department. The new system meets just about all of them, if not all of them. So risk and mitigation. So we're all humans. The only change that we like is to not change. So resistance to change. We want to engage all personnel early and communicate clearly and transparently. It is an increased workload, but within the new system, there's also going to be templates, phased rollout, and advisory committees. Officer and admin exposure shift from authorship to subject matter contributions, and the document maintenance shall be kept in Power DMS for review cycles and assigned ownership. At the end of the day, this isn't just a governing system. It's about the personnel in the community. This system is about creating a better department for our community. It's about giving our officers and our firefighters the tools they need to succeed, creating consistency in how we operate. It's about fairness and how we hold one another accountable, and that we hold ourselves accountable. Most importantly, it honors those who walk before us and those who will come after us. One final closing statement is we have one mission, we're one team for one community. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. You put a ton of work in this already, and the project's not really off the ground yet. The best way I can describe it in simple terms is we've had, I think since 2016-ish, there was a lot of people involved in creating Swatara Township Fire Rescue, from community members to the volunteer chiefs, the presidents, and they all contributed a lot. So we have, the framework has been built, and now we're building the rooms inside. So our structure's built, and this is to build everything else out. And it's not a project that's gonna happen overnight, but I think as it happens and these things are instituted, a lot of our goals and objectives will be obtainable. So, but I don't have anything else. Great presentation, a lot of information. I appreciate the work. Administrative stuff is not the fun stuff to do, so.
Great. It's the first time I've seen this, so looks like a great, as you mentioned, as you're building in this structure and you built the exterior frame, this definitely looks like the architect's drawing for what the interior floor plan will look like. So, good job. Community risk reduction, Chief Corrence.
Okay. So far in, 2025, the events that we have participated in, and for those that don't know, events are just things that we go to, fire prevention classes, or like when we go to the schools and do fire prevention, or the National Night Out, or all those kind of things. We had a total of, since the last report, we've had a total of 19 with 147 firefighters, for a total of 630 man-hours. Year to date, there have been 39 total events with 298 firefighters participating for a total of 876 man-hours. And we currently have at least 15 events in queue, most of which are occurring in October, which is Fire Prevention Month. So we get a lot of the schools, a lot of those kind of things. Yeah, it's up on the screen. Year to date, smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. We have addressed 5 properties. 16 smoke detectors were checked, 2 carbon monoxide detectors were checked. 5 smoke detectors were given and 12 installed, and those are like smoke detectors that the residents would buy but weren't comfortable installing them themselves. Will go out and do that installation. Typically that's with hardwired smoke detectors. And 2 carbon monoxide detectors were given and installed 3. Year to date, it's a total of 21 properties, 56 smoke detectors checked, 12 CO carbon monoxide detectors checked, 29 smoke detectors given, 45 installed, 11 carbon monoxide detectors given, and 12 installed. And the last piece of that is the ongoing Knox box issue, where we are going around and looking at every Knox box in the township. Again, for those that don't know, Knox boxes are boxes that commercial properties put on their buildings, physically on their buildings, that we have keys that take a special code to get them out of the rigs, that we can open up those boxes, and in those boxes there are keys and codes to the building, so that we can get in the building. They're supposed to be those keys, and that's why we're going through and looking at all these. So we can go in and get in the building without breaking down the doors. It's like I tell them when I go, I said, we're going to get in. It's just how much it's going to cost you. So we're in the process of doing that. So far, I've looked at 29 of the 142 properties in the township that have Knox boxes. The end.
The end. I guess upcoming busy month next month.
October is always our busiest month.
Right.
We have lots and lots. We have at least 12 events. Actually, there's going to be more than that. Because one I'm still in communication with, so I haven't published that one. But we have a lot in October.
Gotcha.
And it takes a lot of people. We're working hard to get all of the firefighters involved in that, because typically it's the same, like any other organization, it's the same few that do most of the work, do most of the so we're working on getting more people involved.
That last comment was something I was looking at your number there, and you had 289 firefighters participating.
Those numbers are not 289 separate individual firefighters.
I know, but it's just a misleading number. Yes. It almost would have been like we had 12 guys, yes, and they gave us 876 man-hours.
Yes,
right.
That's probably much closer to the truth.
Yeah, it was like such a huge number, it just jumped out. All right, thank you very much.
Yeah,
All right.
Can I just chime in on that? I one of our primary missions is to be in the community and immerse ourselves in the community, and I think these numbers are pretty. They're huge. This goes to show how much this department cares about our community. No matter what noise is heard, I appreciate all of you guys and girls. On the weekends, you guys are out, you're cooking hot dogs, burgers, passing stuff out at school events, at all different types of events, and we are hitting every part of our community with these events. And these are chances for recruitment, to try and get people. It's chances for the community to get to know our firefighters. And it's a chance for us to teach about fire safety, because we get a lot of questions, when we're out. And a lot of the smoke detector requests come from events, when we're out there. So, it's a lot of hours. I definitely think there's more people participating than we think. It's a balancing act. Everybody has their own lives. And I think we do an excellent job. Dan, you do a great job. It's not a fun job trying to herd everybody to get to these events, and get them to sign up for events. But, we are doing great, with that part of our department. So thank you for all your hard work, and thank you, for everybody that gives up their weekends and their evenings, to go out there and do these events.
I'd like to comment on this subject if I can.
Yep.
I like the report. I like the totals. Very impressed with the public outreach. I would like to maybe add another number to this. It wouldn't be the easiest thing to do, but we could estimate. I'd be very interested, and I'd be willing to help with the events that I attend. We might have drone pictures, but I would like to see a number of participants. How many people were at an event? And
The public.
Yeah, the public. I think that would really paint a bigger, clearer picture here. And I was just, while you were talking, I was doodling something down here. It just was impressive to me that one day I bounced around to a couple events, and we had a presence at the Rutherford Youth Center, the Horner Park in Oberlin, and Shiloh Church of God, when all in the same block of time. So it's amazing how you can schedule and accommodate people that schedule independently and separately, but put their events at the same time. And while I'm on that, we had the Family Fun Fest, a huge event, awesome presence of firefighters, fire police officers. The fireworks was absolutely incredible. And what a lot of people don't know is right before the fireworks, and there's people in here that participated in Pakistan, where we also provide fire service. There was a grand opening event of the former Town and Country School that's now a daycare and is looking to have full day school. And when I got there, I see our fire apparatus and our fire personnel there, and that goes a long way in the community. It makes being a commissioner a really fun job when people are coming up to you, thanking you for things that other people were responsible for doing for the most part and doing well. But the school open houses, the things like that, if we can look and estimate, the Swatara Middle School back to school night was heavily attended, and what do they see? Our public safety professionals right there. So maybe I'll get with Dan, and then you have a list of the events. And I don't know if it's too late for this year, but we could track it going forward, and maybe we could go back, get some numbers. And I think that's a story worth telling to the public, and providing the amount of people that really get to see our firefighters, fire police in action. And that is an incredible recruiting tool right there. I hear over and over again, you should do this, you should do that, you should go to events, you should go to schools. Well, we do that, and you guys do it great. So, I think that would tell the story. And hey, it's your report, Dan, so I'm just giving you one more number to put on there.
Yeah, it's another column in the spreadsheet.
There you go. But I appreciate everybody that puts their time in. And as the Chairman Moyer was saying, 298 firefighters. That could be, on that one day, you could have had people going from one place to another, or people rotating, and then those same people go into the total again. If that's a Saturday, then it's a Sunday. The same people come out, and I think it's really incredible. It speaks volumes for the system we have in place, the support, the apparatus. That's all great, but seeing that human interaction, that people care about the community, and then I get to see people in the community that care about you guys. And after one of these events, if you're on social media, how many people took a picture in front of a piece of fire apparatus or a firefighter, and they love it. It's memories, and it's incredible. So I think that's a huge recruiting tool. We always hear that it's hard to reach people, but I think you're reaching a heck of a lot of people. And I said this at a meeting the other night. When I attended a kindergarten graduation at a local school, I watched as they put the picture of each child and some personal information, but it said career. And 2 years in a row, the number one career that these children are saying that they want to pursue has been firefighter. And those are kids that are 5 years old. So you catch them there, they have a good memory, and think about it, and maybe we solve the recruiting and retention problems that we face. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Thank you, Chief.
To that end, October 8th, we got 3 events that day.
Sign up now.
Now they're not all at the same time like they were that one day, but
All right. Health and safety, Chief Orth.
Good evening. So one bit of excitement, this will be the last fire rescue board meeting that we will be using this microphone setup. We do have the screens in action tonight. Mike and I worked diligently to make sure they were up and operational for today. But when we move to the next platform for the fire rescue board meetings, they will be on YouTube. So I just wanted to make sure everyone is aware of that. We've mentioned that at the township meetings that are broadcasted currently on Facebook, but we're moving to a different platform. We will share the link on the township Facebook page before the meeting. That way you can go to that link. It'll take you over to our YouTube. But we have established a township YouTube channel, and I will make sure that that's broadcasted out shortly. We're just in the process of ensuring that everything is good to go with that. But just wanted to mention that while we had the platform here to do so tonight. A few things to cover in the September 2025 Health and Safety Report. We typically always talk about physicals for our firefighters. And I think anytime that we get on Facebook or we go to Firehouse Magazine or any of the platforms out there that we're seeing about firefighters falling over with cardiac events, there is a reason why we're doing what we're doing. And bear with me one second. Apologize, I forgot to bring this up, but I blanked out the name, and I don't know if we've really ever done this before, but I just wanted to show you this binder. And this binder, which is a very thick binder, has been assembled back in the year 2023 for a cancer claim for one of our firefighters. And, we started the physicals, ultimately to try to prevent a line of duty death from happening. And one of the other pieces to that is really the cancer prevention. And I know I probably almost every meeting discuss this, but it's for a purpose. It's a reminder to everyone to utilize the physical program that we have in place and use it to your advantage. There's cancer screenings, there's cardiac screenings, there's blood work, there's everything that could be possibly provided to you to make sure that you're in the best of health to keep doing what we're doing. There's a couple things here that are topics that now that we have some new line officers in place that we're going to be working on updating some policies that we had, physicals, and making sure that our members are getting them. We did switch to a new provider. We are using Concentra now for our physicals. We had been working with UPMC. That program kind of has deviated us over now to be working through Concentra, and it's working very well. when someone goes in and gets a physical done, we get the information sent to us immediately from them. So I think, in my personal opinion, Chief, I'm sure if you want to add to it, I think it seems to be working better than what we had previously. But again, that's just a reminder. I encourage everyone to get their physicals, sign up. When we went through that transition, there may have been some folks that were missed that had submitted a request. So if there is anyone watching or anyone here that was missed, please let me know personally, and we'll get that taken care of. I always try to highlight, we're nearing the end of the year, I always like to talk about the workers' comp claims and the vehicle accidents. We are in the process with working with Captain Brubacher and Lieutenant Schultz on updating the accident investigation policy. Previously, every accident gets investigated the same way, but we'd like to make it a little bit more formal within the policy and just clear up the potential for any questions that could come out of, are we doing something? Did we not investigate the accident completely? Did we not, cross the T's, dot the I's throughout the whole process? Every accident that happens within the township involving fire apparatus, whether there's injuries, no injuries, they're all done the same way. The police department's contacted, we obtain a police report, we go out, we take photos of the scene, we review the video footage, witness statements, anything of the sort. We did have one incident within the past few months involving one of our fire vehicles. Was not our fault. Unfortunately, one of our officers was driving a vehicle on Derry Street and was struck by another accident that ended up impacting one of our chief's vehicles. No fault to the township in any way or the officer that was driving it. But again, we went through the whole process. We investigated, we pulled the video footage, we did everything that we needed to do just to make sure that we had no fault and provided all documentation to the police department as they requested it. And just going to the number of workers' comp claims, we're at 4 for the year. And we have been tracking them. I'll make sure that at the end of the year we have a report that documents all the injuries over the years, where we're at. And there's one thing I want to just quickly highlight is that when we talk about a workers' comp claim, there are those that there's a payout for, and then there are those that we just submit the documentation for. We always, if somebody calls and they say they got hurt, they tweak their back, they did anything, we document it. We submit that claim to workers' comp, just in the event that if in a week, 2 weeks, a month from now, something comes out of that, even if they say they're fine, we always cover that with workers' comp and have a claim number associated with that. So just kind of wanted to highlight those 2 things right now. I do feel that they're important. I think that's one of the main reasons of having a health and safety chief and having someone in the position to evaluate the injuries. We do look at every injury. Is it preventable, not preventable? All of the ones that we had this year were all non-preventable injuries. So that's one thing we try to take, if there is something, what can we do to make it better? That also goes with policies, as Captain Brubacher had mentioned earlier, related to apparatus driving with our seatbelts. We have a seatbelt policy. We have cameras in the apparatus. We do pull those videos pretty frequently when apparatus is in motion to review the driving of what our apparatus is doing. We don't want to have to wait till somebody calls and say, we were run off the road, your vehicle ran a stop sign, they ran a red light, whatever that is. We try to make sure that everybody is operating safely. We know we need to get there to do a job, we get that. But I think we've really enforced with our team that if we don't get there, we do no justice to the citizens that we're here to protect. Last couple things that I had, I just wanted to highlight about our critical incident stress plan that we have, our policy. Recently, we had a firefighter that passed away in he was Dave Warfel is his name. He was a firefighter in the upper end of the county. Dave was a good friend, I know he had done a lot for us at Chambers Hill, training-wise over the years with our NIMS training and the mods. And Dave was a great guy. And we have, through STFR, a few years ago, we had assembled, basically we had taken a policy from Loudoun County, Virginia, and adopted it, rewrote it somewhat, and adopted it to make it our policy for Swatara Township. In the event that we would have a line of duty death, or we would have really just any type of funeral incident. If somebody, what do we do? What are the measures? Do we cross the ladders with the aerials? What equipment do we send? How do we dress? What do we do? Do we toll the bills? All of those things. So the plan was really put into place and has worked, I think, pretty diligently over the past few years. So my highlight of that is I had the opportunity to go up and work with Halifax Fire Department as they put together Dave's funeral. And to me, it was just something really special to have the opportunity to be there, knowing Dave and all the years of his dedication to serving the citizens. But I think it just shows the work that does get put together by this department and kind of where we rate with that. We're working with a few of the other chiefs right now to try to make that policy potentially a county-wide policy, but what seems to happen is if a firefighter is killed locally or dies, from medical issues, there's a couple departments that get contacted for their ladder trucks and to participate in the funeral. So we're really just trying to hone in on getting something together that all of us will follow, and that we know what happens when a member passes away, and truly the honors that are bestowed upon them. I think the main piece to that is the highest honors go to someone that's killed in the line of duty, but we also want to recognize folks for their service and their dedication to the department. So finding that fine line and having a policy in place that we can follow, that we worked on, is pretty important. So I think that's all I have for my report for September.
Any questions?
No, I just have something to say, Brendan. Your leadership in that aspect of the fire department countywide it's shown every time there is an event. You are always at the top of the list from our departments in Dauphin County. You're one of the first phone calls. So
appreciate that.
Excellent job on that, and thank you for going out and helping throughout the county, and your involvement with the National Volunteer Firefighters. So thank you.
Appreciate it, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Apparatus Committee, Chief Everson.
We can save that for the budget talk.
Okay. Not aware of any executive committee report. Subcommittee reports, strategic planning, still up to me to complete that document. Recruitment and retention subcommittee.
I do have some, I just want to briefly go over some things, because again, there's a lot of misinformation that is put out on the internet and by certain people. So I'm going to go over some stats. This year, we're 9 months into the year. We've had 17 applicants. This does not include applicants that did not pass their background check. On this list, one is fire police and one is an EMA member. The rest are all firefighters. So you take that down to 15 firefighters. A majority of them have either come in with firefighter 1 and 2, or they have gotten firefighter 1 and 2. One of the best examples is actually, I'm not going to call him out, I don't want to embarrass him, but Josh is sitting in the room, and he joined us as a junior firefighter, and he has already completed all his mods and has just recently successfully passed his firefighter 1. So I know there's people comment about our junior program on a regular basis. We do get juniors here and there, and we do get some really good ones every once in a while. Josh has shown that juniors are still viable in the fire service. They're few and far between, but they are there. And some other actually candidates on this list are junior firefighters that are still in high school. The other part of this, I've heard that applications just disappear or whatever the story is of the week. This is our management program for our applications. And it shows what phase every single member is in as they go through our processes. This application process and these phases have been, they've been changed actually within the last few days. We are working with our HR department. Shannon is great. The way this system is set up, every time a person is moved to a phase, whoever needs to know gets an email to notify them. For example, once an application comes in and it goes into, you see one here is in background investigation. When that person's moved there, our HR director, Shannon, gets an email to notify her that there's somebody in the system that needs a background check. And then once that background check is complete, she moves them on to the next process. And then the people that have to know about that get an email. So we're doing a really great job of tracking our applicants, where they're at. And I think we're going to expand upon this a little bit more to help track even better. But that's where we're at this point.
So are these just new people that have come in?
This is new people since the first of the year. We started using this system January of 2025. So everybody that's in here has joined since then. And this is the same program that we also use to track our, I'm kicked out of it right now, but let's see, I'll be back in. It's the same thing that we use to track our part-time firefighter processes through the civil service process. So. Again, this is just to show we are doing the best we can with recruitment and retention. Unfortunately, it's not enough because as soon as we get people in, there's people that leave. We are about to lose one of our longer tenured live-ins. He's decided to go back to active duty military. Completely out of our control, very respectable, but it's going to be a huge hit. He's lived with us he's been there a couple years. He's a driver, he's a senior person in the fire station, and we can't replace that overnight. We have another live-in who started out as a regular at-home responder. He decided to move into the fire station. He's about to get deployed for, I believe, 6 months. He's going to be deployed. Luckily, he's not going anywhere terrible. He's going to Germany. So again, we're back to back. We're losing 2 of our live-ins, and when we go over our staffing data in a little bit here, it's going to show you how much that's going to impact us and our ability to provide the service we've been providing, because we've been doing very good. And the other concern is it's going to leave there's leadership built within the live-in program, and there's 2 brand new live-ins that have moved in within the last year, including Josh I mentioned earlier. They're going to be forced to make decisions on the fire ground until chief officers get there. So losing that experience is it's huge, and we cannot replace it quick enough. It takes a long time for someone to get up to speed to get that type of experience. So, any questions on that?
All right, seeing none. Standards Subcommittee.
I don't think we really have anything to do. The only thing and Mark, if you want me to do it, I can, or if you want to do it about the new curriculum for the...
You can go ahead if you want.
Okay. So our NFPA is changing the way the program to train firefighters. And it's not good for recruitment and retention. The program, although I believe it's good from the training side, it's very good because it's going to be more in depth. But the basic firefighter training is going to be more class hours. I believe I have a document somewhere that has the exact, but it's substantially more. Now, when someone goes to get their firefighter one, after they take their basic classes, they have to fill out. It's basically an application to apply to take the test to make sure you have all the certifications, your background checks that you need to take your firefighter one. They're going to add another test that you can be a pro board certified exterior firefighter, which really does not mean anything, but you will have to apply to take that test. So that's one full application. Take that test, pass that test, and then once you finish the rest of your training classes, you'll have to apply again with another application to apply to take the firefighter one test. That was presented at the last two Dauphin County Fire Chiefs meetings. Our chiefs were pretty vocal with the state on, we don't think this is going to be good. It's also going to affect the junior firefighter program. We're trying to get some answers, but it's really going to limit what somebody under 17 can take prior to turning 18. So you could have somebody that takes their basic courses and they can't take the rest of them for another few years, 2 or 3 years. So along with the NFPA standard changing and the state adopting that training standard, which they don't have a choice, all of the training centers have to adapt to this and rewrite their entire programs. So right now, HAC is going to be hopefully is going to be one of the first pilot programs for this new curriculum. Joe Kennelly just sent me the document that we had at the Chiefs meeting, so I'm trying to add it up. But basically, the introduction of the fire service is 16 hours. The next round of training is fire ground support, which is 36 hours. And then once that is complete, you'll have to apply to take the certification testing. You have to have your first aid CPR to go into the next one, hazmat operations, which that's 32 hours to go into the next one. And then your firefighter one trainings with the flashover is 96 hours. And after that, you will have to apply for the certification testing. The only advantage to this whole thing that I can see is the test will be broken up into smaller modules. So I believe they said you might have to do 6 skill stations for the first test and then 6 at the next, but that's really not the issue. The issue is, I would say, and some of the new people here can reiterate this, but I think one of the hardest parts of the testing is filling out the application. There's a lot of stuff that has to be filled out, especially once you get into your firefighter 2. I mean, they've got to do pre-plans for buildings, so it's making the process more convoluted. It's just, but there's nothing we can do about it. So HAC has given us the ability to, they're closing this first pilot session they're going to run it start to finish. It's only going to be for Dauphin County, and we're going to have some say in, a lot of say in the feedback that will go back to the State Fire Commissioner's office. So just wanted to put that on everybody's radar when we talk about standards and training. That's it.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none? Not aware of any discipline review. Let's move on to new business, the 2026 budget. Chief Everson.
I just gotta find my documents. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, I was one of the first department heads that got to present a draft budget to the Board of Commissioners. I believe that was that beginning of September, I think it was? Yeah. Very beginning of September. This year I did a little bit different. I tried to do, really put a lot of information out for the commissioners to absorb. They got this document, and it's still the draft format. I'm going to leave the draft format because it's changing every day. The purpose of these first budget meetings are to put things on the commissioners' radars. There's a lot of information we don't have, whether it's cost of equipment, cost of insurances, things like that. But this year, I tried to really put together like a long-term vision and budget for the commissioners to kind of give them a big heads up to what's coming down the pike expense-wise for the fire department, because that's always a pretty hot topic. But I'm not going to go through the entire thing, but basically this outlines some staffing options for full-time firefighters, the capital needs that are needed upcoming with facilities, apparatus, and how we can obtain some of these things. I always like to provide the commissioners with a fire fund history. As you can see, we're pretty stable across the last since 2015, how much the expenses are for the fire fund. This chart just shows the increase or decrease by year. This is actual expenditures. This is not what's budgeted. This is the actual expenses from year to year. And then the next one is very interesting that I wanted to present to the commissioners. The blue line is the fire fund actual expense, and the orange line is the consumer price index. So as you can see, the expenses of the fire department have not grown with the actual consumer price index. That's accredited to our staff and officers and fire. Like, we really try to do the best we can with what we have. Where we get big hits is when we have to order fire trucks. That's a huge hit. I mean, multi-million dollars in one shot, and expenses have gone up. The consumer price index has gone up 31%, and our overall expenditures have gone up approximately 12% over that period. Even with that, we've still been able to accomplish a lot of things with fire. Again, our health and wellness program, which is huge, employees assistance program for all our firefighters. We purchased 5 major pieces of apparatus. Our incentive program, which is one of the best in the state. We've established our part-time career firefighter staffing program. We fund all the operations of what is needed to provide fire protection. And we've also, over the years, we've formed a great partnership with our Firemen's Relief Association, taking things and putting them on relief and putting things in the township budget. It's really working out well, that partnership. Don't pay too much attention to these requests. These are just small requests that we're putting in. The big one is the rescue tool project, which we actually put in for last year. But we have held off on that for a few reasons. There's some other line items that we're really going over in the current budget, which number one is actually our volunteer incentive program. I did not anticipate the number of individuals that were going to go get their firefighter to really take advantage of those training bonuses and take advantage of the top pay incentive, which is $1,100 a month. So I guess if you're going to blow a line item, the volunteer incentive one is probably the best one to go way over on. Another reason is we did have a committee that tested lots of rescue tools, and I think everyone's kind of glad we held off a little bit. Our current brand, Amicus, came out with some new tools very recently that seem to be the favorite. And along with that, this year, I've really hammered down on some grants, and for that project, you see it's $145,000. We're working on approximately $125,000 of grants right now that we could get potentially before the end of the year. We've already been awarded $15,000 towards that project from Norfolk Southern. They have a grant that communities can apply for. We were awarded that for the second year in a row, which is great. We currently have two $30,000 grants outstanding, and then the multiple $15,000 a year state grants that are being used towards this project. We're asking to replace some vehicles, an increase on the fire incentive. This number will probably end up going up because I think we're going to surpass that 300,000 mark this year. Increasing our part-time firefighter line item so we can open up 6 shifts instead of 3 per day. And when we go through the staffing data a little bit, we also need to pay career staffing on the weekends more frequently. We'll go over the staffing in a little bit. I won't hammer that too hard at this point. This is a phased career staffing plan that I gave the commissioners. Obviously, we'd love to have all the career staffing we need right now. Not necessarily going to be feasible. One of the things that I've talked to a lot of other leaders about, and a cost-effective way, and this is not set in stone, but this is one option that was presented, to hire actually 4 full-time lieutenants prior to hiring a whole bunch of full-time career staff to provide that supervision immediately in the station. It will also help with helping manage our schedule during the day. We are constantly juggling, and we'll get into this more in the staffing in a little bit, but trying to figure out how to get 2 pieces of apparatus at both ends of the township in service at the same time. Some days that's easy, and some days it's not, for many reasons, which we can discuss those in a little bit. But that would be a cheaper way than hiring 12 full-timers immediately. But the bottom line is, you can ask every volunteer in this room, we need full-time career staffing. We just cannot continue to maintain these levels of services without it. I know some people will say, well, we have a lot of officers, but I'm going to put some numbers out there, and this is not a stab at our police department, but just to put some things in perspective. They have 16 supervisory positions and approximately 34 rank and file positions. Our department, we say active members, it's usually in between 60 and 70 every month. But on the rosters, because some of those people are active one month, not active the next month, I believe we're at at least 85 between our career and volunteers. So the span of control, again, we are the fire department and we are operating the best we can with what we have. But we do not have the supervision staff that other departments are afforded, including, if you look at some of the other departments that are doing similar things that we're doing now, their supervision staff is much higher than what we currently have. So that's something that we're really going to hone into, especially as we build out our governing documents, as you heard about in the administrative report to really hone down of where we need more supervision at. This is a big part of this. I know lots of times commissioners will ask me for apparatus replacement plans. The complexity of this issue is no matter how it's structured, we will commit future boards of commissioners to significant capital expenditures. The lead times are 3.5 to 4 years on fire trucks. That's just, we can't get around it. That's no matter what manufacturer you go to, that's just the way it is. And it is not going to change anytime in the foreseeable future. So what I did is I put together a document of a timetable of years where replacements should happen, and the estimated cost, and when they have to order those fire trucks by. So for example, we've made do without a heavy rescue for a number of years since ours was totaled, but we need one, and it's time for it to be replaced. If we would ordered by the third quarter of this year, we would see it by 2029. And again, you don't pay for the fire truck up front, you pay for it when it's delivered. So you're tying up whoever's on the Board of Commissioners in 2029 to $1.5 million expense. Rescue 915 is on its last leg, that needs replaced, that needs ordered. Again, if you order it now, a rescue engine would not be delivered until 2030. Again, another $1.4 million expense. And then you can see in the document, you just go down through when it should be replaced and what year it has to be ordered. So that's a very complex issue for the Board of Commissioners to try and address. Facilities, we are still in the process of working on the public safety complex with the police station out back. We are also we are in the process of having a feasibility study done at Rutherford to see what we need long-term out there to make that station able to accept full-time career staffing, because that is going to have to be a priority, because that is probably the first place our full-time career staffing is going to have to go. And we'll have that discussion at the staffing when I get into staffing. So I've talked a lot. Is there any questions? And you all have a copy of this. I ask you don't share it, just keep it amongst the board, because it is a draft format and it is changing every single day.
So I have a question on the incentive program increase. Is that increase on payments for the people, or is that just number of people taking advantage of it? Where's the increase at? Like, did you raise the rates that you're paying people?
Yeah, so we did last, I believe January we raised it.
Well, I meant in this budget year. In the budget year you're presenting.
No, that is keeping what we raised
Okay,
this current
that's what I'm
year.
asking.
Yes.
So this is just, your increase is based upon more people taking advantage of more training, increased certification level, and more in-station staffing.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's called an incentive program. I'd say it's incentivizing, and it's
Right. Well, I just don't want to I wanted to understand it, because I know we have done 2 increases since I've been on the board, and wanted to be part of that if we're looking at that.
Yeah. The only problem with increasing right now is we really got to do another deep dive into the Department of Labor letter on the 20% rule. Because if you pay more than 20% of what a full-time firefighter would make, then it's no longer considered a nominal fee. It could cause a whole lot of problems in the volunteer world. So I am looking at that, but I would say as of right now, we are pretty maxed out and pushing the envelope. So.
Okay.
I have a comment, if it's okay. Could you go to the third page? Third page. If you go down, because I think, yeah, so is there an in-between that you can get both of them? If not, the bottom's more important than the top. But this is interesting. It came up in a budget meeting. So it has the expense actual, and this is a 10-year run here. So you can see in 15 to 16 was a significant decrease in the amount of money that was spent, 8.9%. Then it went up 4.38. Then it's down again in 18, 19, 20, significantly down in 21. In 22, it jumps, and in 23, it actually, for the first time, is higher than what it was in 15. In 22 and 23, no apparatus was purchased. In 22 and 23, there was not a paid firefighter in this township. But if you move to 24, there's a modest 3.32% increase. And that's when we started to pay for paid firefighters. So if you look at that, that's a $57,000 increase in the year before. And I'm putting this out there because the same people over and over again like to use a scare tactic of how much it would cost if we had paid firefighters. Yeah. And what we're seeing here is that it costs $57,000, not $12 million, not these ridiculous numbers. And the highest jump that we saw on a trend was during the years that the people that complained the most had control of the budget and the board. So I just want to put that out there. I think we do an excellent job overall. I'm not questioning that increase, but other people do over and over again. And then they like to put numbers out and say things that aren't true. But this is the facts. This is a 10-year spread. And I'll go back and say that 10 years ago, I was on the board with then Commissioner Moyer. And these are things that we thought about and talked about and were concerned about. And I mean, to me, it's been pretty balanced. The apparatus has been balanced. But that doesn't stop people, especially people on the Facebook post, to say, if you were to have paid firefighters, it will cost as much as the police. If you need another fire truck, our taxes will go up, which is going to bring me to the last point I want to make here. Taxes didn't go up in any of those years. Not one of those years. But you hear it all the time that if we do something good to protect the people in the township, taxes will go up. If we pay firefighters to do an incredible job, taxes will go up. The rallying cry there seems to be from a small vocal minority that consistently, in my opinion, just my opinion, is consistently on the wrong side of the issue. So I appreciate you putting this data together. And this is a great job done by lots of people year in and year out. And that does not include many, if any, of the critics that say the same thing year in and year out. So thank you.
Any other comments? All right, thank you. Move on to the next item, staffing.
Okay. So, for those of you that don't know, my pre-fire world, I worked to get an IT degree and had I have a pretty solid background in computers. I was trying to figure out one day, we get a lot of data from our records management system, and a lot of that data is not necessarily, I'll say, analyzed. So I brushed off the old computer programming days and used some help with some AI, and I made us a fire staffing analyzer. So what this allows us to do is a few things. It allows me to take our raw data from our staffing software, which is in First Due, where everybody signs up for their shifts, and I can export it in a CSV file and put it into this program. And when I do that, it will tell me a few different things. On the left side here, I can set it to as many thresholds as I want. And then the big thing is it's going to tell us how much time we have coverage. And it breaks it out by number of people in a fire station. So this is our year-to-date data that includes volunteers and career. So at Station 91, 97.8% of the time there is greater than or equal to 2 people in the fire station. Greater than or equal to 3, 89%, 4, 71%, 5, 47%, 6, 28%, 7, 14%, and 8, 6.5%. The reason I went the whole way out to 8, because I know there's a lot of discussion on where career firefighters are placed. So typically, we do not want to move people if we don't have a minimum of 4 people in a fire truck. That is the NFPA standard of what we shoot for. So if we have 5 people in a station, it's pointless to move one person to another station and have a fire truck that's driver only. So that is the purpose of showing 2 through 8. It's also to show that we do an okay job. I'm not even going to say it's acceptable, because 100% coverage is what is acceptable at one station. When we look at Rutherford Station, that is still a primary at-home response station. During the day, we do have some people that hang out there every once in a while, and we try and add, if there's 2 people out there and we cannot go below 3 at the other fire station, we'll add a career staffer out there to at least try and get them up to 3. But again, that management of that schedule is not easy, because we have part-timers that will work, not necessarily 7 to 7, but they may work 8 to 3, 8 to 2:30, depending on the full-time work schedule. And then we have volunteers that will come and go. They may sign up for 2 hours, leave for 3 hours, come back. So it's really hard to shift people when it's constantly changing, or else we'll be moving people all the time back and forth between stations. So that's the purpose of this. That shows you what the coverage is of number of people. So again, the goal would be greater than or equal to 4, 100% of the time. And we're not meeting that. This is just a graphic that shows that. And again, this program is still being built out, but I can also tell you that we're struggling on weekends, because if you look at this at Station 91, 70%, we're only at 70% of the time. On the weekend, we have 4 or greater in station, and during the weekday, we're at 71%. I believe that's a little bit higher due to typically the career staffing is working on Monday through Friday. We do try, when the volunteers give us a heads up that there's going to be nobody around, we do try and page out to try and get part-timers to work on the weekends, but even that's few and far between, because they don't want to work on the weekends either. And then it also breaks it down by day, evening, and overnight. And as you see, the overnight is definitely a struggle to keep us above 4. And that's going to get even worse as we lose 2 live-ins. That's going to be a huge hit. So that's the basis of this program. I'm still building it out to include some more things. Our OIC coverage, we're at 81%, which is pretty good with 1 full-time person and a whole bunch of stipend volunteer officers. I think 80% is good. Again, 100% is what I would call acceptable, but we're not quite there yet. And then it breaks it down by month, every shift that's covered. As you see, before we did our officer promotions, we really struggled overnight. Once we did those promotions, we do have some younger officers that are willing to take those overnight shifts, and it's greatly appreciated. So that C shift, which is the overnight, has steadily increased since we did those promotions, along with some of the other ones. So that is the basis of the program, but it really lets us look at the raw data and puts it into something we can process and try and make better. Any questions?
What strategies or anything that you're doing differently now that these are things you've known about? Have you implemented any different strategies, any thought processes to try to ramp this up with what you have?
As far as trying to get the staffing levels
Yeah,
up?
as far as the staffing levels, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying, and that's shifting people around. I guess that's the only strategy we have, because we only have so many people, and the strategy is to shift when we can. That it was definitely when I showed this to all our officers and our new officers at our officers meeting, I think it was an eye-opener to show the, we'll say, lack of coverage at the other end of the township out at Rutherford. And everybody was in agreement to try and do the best we can. But again, we only have so many people. And,
Dan says you have 285 firefighters.
Yeah. So, that also ties into, we hear all the time about staffing a third station. Well, we can't staff one station. Can't staff two stations. I don't know what people want me to do or want this department to do to try and staff a third.
Have you shared this with the rank and file members?
This is the first that this has been shared publicly.
Okay.
I'm going to find a way to probably try and get it into my monthly fire report. But again, I'm still working on this to try and
I think, again,
better.
just raising the awareness down
Yeah.
to the rank and file to say, hey, if you can go and run at the other end.
Yeah.
So give us a couple hours out there.
Yeah.
More than a couple.
Yeah, and like I said, that's the challenging part is,
Over budget.
we're only at 8 for, 8 or 6.5% of the time. That's not a lot of time. And again, this is also tied into our mutual aid partners because they're having the same problem. I will tell you that, I can talk about it. Lower Paxton, obviously they've hired full-time career firefighters. 2 of them are sitting out there. They're ours, so congratulations to them. But, we're constantly in communication of which fire stations are out of service on a daily basis. On a daily basis, it shifts around. And I refer to it as the triangle of death. When you have 2 stations in Lower Paxton out of service and Rutherford out of service, that's really bad. That's really bad. And there's nothing we can do at this point to prevent it. Now, hopefully that's few and far between when, obviously they're adding that, but 8 full-time career firefighters is not enough for them either. They tried to get 10 and they only got 8, so outside the strategy of, we're going to continue to do what we're doing with recruitment and retention with the incentive program. We're going to continue to track the data, and I'm going to continue to put these stats out to the commissioners, to the public, to the firefighters, and this is what we have. And the only way to fix it is to hire full-time people. And even that's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge to get full-time people. Again, you have a municipality that's paying good, has great benefits, and they wanted to hire 10, they got 8.
They don't work overnight.
And their staffing model is, right now, it's not necessarily 24 hours a day, but I imagine it probably getting there fairly quickly. At least they're starting to, we started with the part-timers. They were able to take our system and say to their elected officials, look, their system doesn't work because you don't have a constant schedule. So they took it a step further. They hired full-timers, for certain hours of the day and certain days. And, I almost guarantee you, if I would bet, I'd bet that next year they will probably hire more to go to 24-hour staffing. It's the challenge everywhere. But again, we do a great job, but anything less than 100% is not acceptable.
Well, I think the numbers are sobering for the Rutherford station to see that. And that's why I think it's great to share that with the rank and file and hopefully maybe generate more interest there.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else?
If I could add a little bit to that.
Sure.
So I was just running some numbers while sitting over here. The idea is to be a self-sustaining department and providing around-the-clock 24/7 coverage, and that's in the service to the community. When you're trying to elaborate on, because I know we do hear a lot of staffing here versus staffing there, and I think it comes down to, it's our responsibility to be responsible in the deployment of the resources that we have on hand and where they make most sense at the time. Chief, if you could scroll up to the beginning of the coverage. We're a predominantly volunteer system, and pridefully so, but it comes with understanding that we can't continue to provide the level of service demand that is needed for the community. Volunteers have a lot of time constraints between family, working full-time, working the overtime to make ends meet, and just to add volunteer commitment on top of that. And we have a lot of dedicated individuals over all of the stations. But one number I wanted to point out was, even at our minimum staffing, we're only meeting that 97.8% of the time, which leaves 2.2% of the time over a year's span where we can't guarantee that if somebody's house is on fire, somebody's having a medical emergency, or a visitor traveling through the township, that we're able to provide the service that should be expected of us. And I think that just goes towards, the justification for the future idea and plan of where we need to be in the service to the community. And that's with only 2 people. 2.2% of the time, only 2 people may not show up. To meet the national minimum standard, and that's 1 fire truck across the entire township of 40-some thousand residents, minimum national standard, we're not meeting that 28.8% of the time. Just further justification on, we do realize what's going on, and the model that we're trying to build, it makes sense in the long run. Those are just some numbers that stuck out to me while I was sitting there reading it.
Yeah, and I think this will actually help a little bit too. While we're on staffing, I want to show, this is what it's like to manage our shift board on a daily basis. And I think today was actually a pretty good day that I can show. So this is our scheduling software. This is where all the volunteers and part-timers will sign up for shifts. And here, this should show what the challenge is. So today we had 1 career firefighter work 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., 1 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., and 1 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Again, whatever work schedules, home life, whatever the reason is, it's the way it is. We take them when we can get them. Then, if we look at the volunteer staffing throughout the day, it's like, okay, we have 3 people. You think we could just move people around? Well, we have 1 person that's there from 7 to 9:30. They had to leave the fire station and go do whatever they had to do. Then they came back at 9. So then you're at 3. 1 person's there till 5, and then people come in the evening. And it's very hard to try and shift this board around 24 hours a day to try and get staffing at 2 stations. It's not simple. It's not simple at all. It's great because we can really track it and we can track the data through this system, but managing it is extremely hard. But this is what our daily staffing looks like every day. You'll see the firefighter's name and what they're qualified to do, and the hours that they will be at the station. So, any questions?
Yeah, thank you. Let's continue on with old business. I have on here about the volunteer coordinator role.
So HR informed me we had 35 applicants for that role. Currently, we are in the interview process. And hopefully there's a candidate that will be presented to the Board of Commissioners at the first or second meeting in October. I would like maybe you, Chairman Moyer, to reiterate kind of where that position came from and the line of thinking, because it was not well received by some. Actually, I believe the exact words were, if I want to hire help, it should come out of my salary. But in my opinion, we took a position that, you as a citizen of your committee recommended, and we made it a multi-function position. Like all of us, we do multiple things to try and help with the workload.
Yeah. Well, I think, first of all, the committee, when we met, we identified that there was definitely a need of some type of administrative assistant needed for your role. We had talked numerous times about that with you and amongst the committee members. But in our review, we met with Lower Allen? Yes. Lower Allen, their public safety director. And we looked at their plan. And they did things opposite than how Swatara did it. Lower Allen hired part-time people. Actually, I think they were full-time people. They're community service people.
Public safety officers.
Public safety officers that did fire, EMS. They could move in and out of the different roles. And they hired those people. They maintained a loose volunteer structure. And when we were meeting with them, they had just adopted their policies to move to a single fire department structure, where they were building a new station. They were paying for the volunteer station to move out of an old station into a new station. They were moving to township-based fire chiefs away from station-based chiefs. And they were putting in the policies and procedures. So they did things opposite of how Swatara did it, where Swatara built the structure and then moved to township-based chiefs and more of that type of structure. But one of the early roles that they hired, along with their public safety director, was a volunteer coordinator. And he more or less acted, and I put it in air quotes, as their senior fire officer representative of the township. Now, he worked very closely with the volunteer station chiefs at the time that they had and worked to that. And when we heard that and we looked at their role and his job of really working with the volunteers seemed to make the most sense, that really seemed to be a great idea when you're trying to maintain a career volunteer structure, where you had one person that was focused solely into that role to do that. And I think his role was considered a captain, Jack, was it?
I think at that level.
Yeah, I think he was at a captain level with that area there. And that just made a lot of sense to us when we looked at it, when we heard how they did it, when we saw what Swatara was struggling with and some of the problems that we have. And that's why we had met with you and Commissioner Conley and had told you guys that was one of our suggestions that were going to come out of our report, was that this type of volunteer coordinator was a strong recommendation that we thought you should have considered. And along with that, the counterpart of that too was the administrative support that we thought you were lacking, that you just didn't have that consistency of being able to turn things over. Now, since then, you brought in the HR department, which has unloaded some of the HR work that you've been doing, some of the administrative work. I think, Mark, did they relieve some of your work too? Some, all right. But anyway, some of that administrative work. So that's where that came from. Any questions?
Yeah, appreciate that. And just so everybody, again, I presented this to the board and to you guys. This position will have 3 parts to it. A community risk reduction part to help with some fire inspection aspects to help drive that ISO down. Again, this will all be tied into what Captain Brubacher was speaking about earlier, the volunteer recruitment portion of it and the administrative assistant part of it. Our position is not going to be any type of command level position, but it's going to be a support position for us that's going to cover multiple areas that, I feel that we are lacking. That's all.
Okay, thank you for the update. All right, visitors request and
Hang on, I
comments.
have one more thing. It wasn't on the agenda for old business, but I'd like to revisit it. We had, I believe last year we had discussed, and maybe this is something that's going to be addressed in your report, but we've discussed updating our ordinance and how this is all structured. I think it's important to keep moving on that, along with what we are doing on the administrative and in building that interior part of our department. I think that definitely has to be addressed as we build this out to where we need to make those updates. So I don't know if your plan was to have that in your report or...
It's going to be in the report, but we also did a meeting early on, the beginning of this year, where we gave a high-level recommendations of things that should be looked at in the ordinance to say, these changes should probably be looked at, modified, even if the ordinance even needs to stand. I mean, that was another question that we raised in our committee meeting to go, is there a need for this level of organization with where Swatara Fire is going? Is there a need for this group to meet? You know what I mean? So it should all be looked at to see if that's where you should go with that.
Okay.
But yeah, reference that from that meeting and a handout that I gave at that meeting with recommendations in there.
All right.
All right. Visitors' requests and comments. All right. Last meeting of the month is listed for Tuesday, December 30th. Tuesday, December 30th. Any conflicts with anybody here on the board? Brendan, are you DJing anywhere?
Just here, we'll have the new system.
Oh, good. You'll be up in the boat in the booth.
We'll up here in the booth announcing everyone as they come in.
Got her dances on board. All right. Board members request and comment. Commissioner Conley.
Yeah, I want to start with, I noticed in the fire rescue report that for the month, the average response time was 4 minutes 55 seconds. For the year, it's 5 minutes 15 seconds. I think that's incredible. There was a time where we were concerned about being under 8 minutes and how often we could do that. So now as the average, we're in the 5 minute range. So thank you to everybody responsible for that. It's quite a few people. I'd like to congratulate Dakota Schultz and Dave Garber on their full-time firefighter positions at a neighboring municipality, Lower Paxton. We're proud of you. We know you got what it takes, but we still like to see you here. And I appreciate you coming out tonight. I want to welcome Greg Miller up here. I'll address this a little more after I comment on Greg. One of the big positives that came out of the effort that I undertook to try to bring back Chambers Hill Fire Company. You know, we struggled in a lot of other areas, but getting to talk to Greg, meet Greg, work with Greg, and see what he has to offer and that he's willing to offer it. I appreciate you, and that is to me a big success that we came out of that process with. And what I'm going to say now, Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we have already had career staffing at the Rutherford station. Am I correct on that?
A few times, yes.
A few times.
A couple of times.
Okay, so we're getting, you know, that was something that the public was saying. You know, people want things immediately when you're changing, but I mean, it's already happened, and there'll be more opportunities for that, and you know, that I think is a big improvement. And on the Chambers Hill, I want to refer to the minutes, because there's been a lot of different conversations and versions of conversations, but in the minutes that we voted on tonight from the last Fire Rescue Board meeting, June 24th, I'm going to skip down, and it says Chambers Hill Fire Company president said that the company has worked very hard to get additional firefighters, but it hasn't happened as quickly as they hoped. And I don't doubt that people worked hard. A little farther down, where it says she, is referring to Mary Klaus. It says she also said that Chambers Hill members discussed the memorandum of understanding at 4 meetings and voted not to accept it. Then there's a quote, "We're not bad people because we want to keep control of our own building." She said, "We don't have to be the quarterback on this team, but we do want to be part of it and continue to serve our community." So I appreciate that you know, Mary, a few other people, Greg, are looking to still be involved, obviously, in Swatara Fire Rescue. But Mary spoke at the beginning of the meeting and said that, you know, she expressed some unhappiness with conversations and things like that. We had worked for over a year. This board and myself had worked to try to bring Chambers Hill Fire Company back to a higher level of service than where they were at. And I had asked Mike, I sit in the commissioners' meetings, and commissioners ask Mike for papers over and over again and information. And I asked for some information from the years 22 and 23. I wasn't on the board. I wasn't working towards bringing Chambers Hill back in 22 and 23. And the engine that was there, not, you know, the engine was taken away later, but the engine that was there got out the door 5 times in 22, 5 times in 23, had not gotten out in 24, and then it was removed. 5, so that's 10 times in a 3-year period of time. And in 2025, I have had people come to the podium and say, "You need to put an engine there. Our lives are at risk. The community, it's exaggerated." It sat there and it didn't move, while Mary and other people were working diligently to try to get people in that station. Then when we worked through the agreement, we decided to let Chambers Hill take a lead role in how the use of the building would play out. They decided that they want to continue fundraising. They want to have a tax office. They want to generate money. I want to point out none of that money comes to this board or is used for fire rescue services. But it's their building, and we respect that. But we said, why can't we just pay, we'll pay whatever percentage you come up with. They came up with 40% of the building, and we would pay 40% of those utility expenses, the stormwater fee, which is really 100% of the 40% of the building that we were using for fire rescue. And it was, you know, we thought it was a significant amount of money. It was a fair deal. They set the amount. We agreed to it. And then I find out later, or this board finds out, that we really weren't dealing with Mary and Greg and a couple other people. They had another board that could oversee this vote that then rejected that offer. So by then, the bills had switched out of the township, which for that 5 times they responded in 22, 5 times they got the engine out in 23, township was paying utility bills there. And what was happening there were wedding receptions, a political event, chicken barbecues, fish dinners. I like to eat, I support them. But a lot of that was happening while the lights were on and the gas bills were going up. So we were paying that for those years. And I want to really put this out there because I worked on something, never for credit, but to get something done, was to bring Chambers Hill back. And they even had an open house, which well over 100 people attended, and they got minimal applications. We did everything we could. But then I started to hear this blame that maybe I was responsible for them not having apparatus. Maybe I was responsible for the township not continuing to pay the bills for those fundraising events and those weddings, and great things happen there, I'm sure. But during that process, and we had the two citizens on the board and Chief Everson and myself working towards bringing Chambers Hill back, we were trying to balance the fairness of the community's taxpayer dollars with the response the people were getting. That happened in 24 in June when Mary asked me to work on that. At that point, they had responded 10 times in 2.5 years with an engine out of there. And I know there's some numbers on a utility, but 10 times. And the comments that we got were, give them this engine so they can do all these things. I wasn't on the Board of Commissioners in 22 or 23 when they weren't doing those things. Other people were. And I sat in the meetings, and I went through the meetings, and I went through the minutes. And the people that were asking for them to be financially supported by the township and were complaining about apparatus didn't complain about 5 responses in 365 days, another 5 responses in 365 days, 0 responses in about 182 days. Didn't say anything. But when I took the position, which I had before, after a 2-year absence, then we had an open house where there was blame of why they hadn't accomplished these things in 2 years that I wasn't there. Then there was a petition that was sent out, and I'm going to bring this around to something. It's been a year. I have those petitions, and those petitions asked for more and better fire protection. I don't want to say that I took that as a way to blame the people that were in, but they were gathered by the people who didn't say anything when the same issue was taking place. I would like this board and this committee to formulate a response. I have the petitions and the pieces of paper in my possession. They have addresses, they have people that signed them. And I think we owe those people a response to let them know how much things have improved for Swatara Fire Rescue in their community. And also, I think we need to clear up the fact that the fundraising money that they feel provided them with something, they put money out and they felt they were owed something. We should clearly explain that has nothing to do with this board or the response. And we should go even farther to let them know these statistics and reassure them that they're in great hands, that the fire response from Swatara Fire Rescue will get to them at an incredible rate. We heard that there's a small percentage chance that we are not in service, but we have mutual aid and we cover for those communities when they're not in service. But I think it's time to clear up this misleading information. And since those petitions were presented at a public meeting and I had discussed them before, a year has passed, there really wasn't a good time before to answer that, but I think we can formulate it now that we're coming up on the year anniversary and maybe get something out here in short order explaining to everybody who took the time to sign a petition that was very critical of fire response, kind of give them the other side of the story. So I think that's pretty much all I had, which was a lot.
Will you put that in the form of a motion?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion that the Fire Service Board formulate a response to the 1,000 petitions that came to the Fire Service Board, the Board of Commissioners, myself as the committee chair of Fire and Rescue Services, and basically update them on where we're at and what has happened since they signed the petition. And I mean, it wasn't necessarily clear, but somebody took the time to put the petition out and gather signatures. And I know the person that presented them, it was presented 2 times at meetings. So there's 2 batches. And I think we just, kind of give that update is my recommendation. So I make that a motion.
Do I have a second? Second. I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Yep. Chief Barnes?
I'd just like to echo the welcome to Greg. That's really about it.
Chief Bradley?
I mean, really all I have is, Mike, just keep putting the data out there. Yeah. We deserve to see it up here. They deserve to see it. The residents deserve more than we're giving them. And it's not any fault of ours. And it's not any fault of, when I say ours, I mean, the officers, the fire department, Swatara Township, whatever. It's just, that's the nature of the beast of volunteerism now. Anyone who has kids that play youth sports, you struggle to get parents to volunteer to coach. You struggle to get parents to volunteer to work at the concession stand. You struggle to get parents to, move the chains at your kid's football game or whatever it is. You struggle to do all that, and you don't think we're going to struggle to get someone to volunteer to run into a burning building? Like there's a disconnect there, and I don't know where it's at. There's gaps that we can't give you the coverage that you deserve, and you should be mad about that. You shouldn't be mad at us. You should just be mad about that. That's really all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Harlacher?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to give kudos to the captain. The report you did is pretty phenomenal. I know what kind of effort that took, even formatting it the way you did, and I think it's a really good consolidation, good start, and I appreciate you doing that. Secondly, to address Mary's question, I was asked in 2023 to be on this board by Commissioner Zubek to fill in the passing of Michelle. This is my 2.5. I fulfilled my last 2 years. So I just want to address that with you. I was recruited. I'm here, glad to serve. And I spent just about every Monday night for a year on additional committees. And then in closing, I'd just like to acknowledge the horrible tragedy in Northern York Regional. That's a heck of a loss for all of us, and even the members in this room who assisted them, and the potential. We're all on the same page. We just need to communicate a little bit better, but please keep them and the surviving officers in your thoughts.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all the officers that gave well-informed information. It brings everybody up to light. It really does. Thank you all.
Thank you. Chief Everson?
I know I talked a lot this evening, but a big part of my job is collecting data and analyzing the data. I will continue to put it out, and I have a challenge. For those of you that are very vocal about what we do in Swatara Fire Rescue, be vocal, but how about have a solution? Give us ideas, because we are at the wit's end of trying to figure it out on our own. And there's a whole lot of critics, and there's not a whole lot of suggestions. So, just think about the things that you say and the things that you do, because you may think you're attacking me. You know what? I've been here for 12 years. I'm pretty used to it. But you want to talk about recruitment and retention issues? That is what causes recruitment and retention issues. The pop shots that are taken at that podium, on Facebook, and everywhere else in the world they happen on Swatara Fire Rescue, I've had enough. And these members have had enough. From everybody. They are here day in and day out doing the best that they absolutely can. And they get criticized no matter what they do. I get criticized no matter what I do. Criticize, criticize, criticize. It's old, it's tiring, it's exhausting. I live here. Yeah, this is my full-time job. I have an advantage over a lot of the volunteers because I get paid to do this. But you know what? I get paid for 40 hours a week. I'm staffing the firehouse on the weekends with our officers. Our officers, you can ask them, the group text. Hey, anyone available? Sleep in. 2 hours here, 2 hours there. To help keep our numbers above 2 people in a firehouse or 0 in a firehouse. But again, just stop. Stop. Everyone is entitled to an opinion, but bring a solution to the table. You saw the raw numbers. That is numbers that are exported right from our system. You can't argue the numbers. Come here with a solution. Come up to that mic, have a solution. Not fake ones either. Real solutions on what you think we should do. And stop being critical of the men and women that serve this community, whether they are at the end of their career or the newest junior firefighter. Every time you take a shot, you think you're taking it at me, you're taking it at them. Enough. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I think, again, to echo a lot of the conversations here for everybody, we are very lucky. And if you look at surrounding communities, and this is something that when we went out there and looked, and as Mike mentioned, often Lower Paxton Township, or even you can go up in Susquehanna Township, we have a pretty good dedicated group of individuals here that are doing a really bang-up job. So we're very fortunate with the hard work that's being put out by our volunteers. So thank you to all of you out there. We really appreciate it. And thank you to the officers, too, for keeping things moving. I think that's really important, and I don't think you guys get enough recognition. I know Commissioner Conley gave you big kudos here earlier on, too, so it's well due. That's all I have. So at this time, I'll call for a motion for adjournment.
Motion.
Got a second? Second. Got a motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Thanks. See you, Chris.